Millennial State. Let's talk to me. What's Millennial State?
Millennial State. Millennial State is the brand message that I'm trying to put out as millennials are really changing and not taking over things, but the technology they're using is taking over the control of the dollar.
Right.
So Millennial State is a message that I'm pushing really to get people to understand that it's okay that is switching over to that and we can adapt to it and we can grow with that.
Okay. All right. So is that your brand?
No, it's a brand underneath Affluent Solution.
Okay.
Where basically, it's just a message, it's just a subtle message out there. With ASG, we're big at marketing and our goal is to get things out and we get things out to the masses. So this is something that we just put out subtle that just, kind of just really got started, a hashtag of myself and Affluent Solution and what we're doing and how, millennials are involved, in this time, this state of America, they're all involved. So I kind of started the hashtag. I know some other people have used it. But it's just kind of just ongoing thing,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really good conversational piece.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're wearing the shirt, so I had to ask.
Yeah.
All right. So the other question. So you said Affluent Solution Group. So I mean, just to give everybody a heads up, anybody that is watching this video later. Obviously, I'm Terrence with Food Tribe. I'm here today to talking to Joe of Affluent Solution Group. This Food Tribe group, tips and tricks for restaurant professionals. What we're really about is connecting the best and the brightest in the restaurant, the hospitality space, with the people that are running the restaurants, right? Yep. The restaurant owners, the food and beverage managers, yep. the backhand chefs, the kitchen managers, all those guys. Because running a restaurant is a super difficult business, right? Yep. And, I think that we were talking about that before the conversation really jumped in, is that, people need help. It's a difficult business and yeah. There are a lot of tools that are out there, but it's about, connecting the dots, connecting the resources. And so, that's kind of the purpose of this group, right? Or this meeting, this webinar. So, I'm super excited that we're here talking today with you, Joe. You talked about yourself a little bit briefly regarding like your background. But so for just anyone that's never met you before, just give us your 30-second pitch, your 5-minute pitch, whatever. Just talk to us a little bit about your background and your expertise and why we're talking today.
All right, 30 seconds and 5 minutes. That's a big thing. I started off in marketing, in digital marketing. I started off in the sports. I was doing a lot of marketing for defensive linemen. And if anybody watches football, you understand that's one of the hardest positions to market. So I was using that as a medium to get people to get involved and donate to the foundations, nonprofits that these football players and athletes had. And that kind of just, transcended my career to really get in social media. And social media had a big bubble. And I realized there was a void in a lot of companies that didn't know how to use social media to gain customers. You can use social media to have fun, show what you're doing, but they weren't using social media to really gain customers. So that's when I found my void. When I got out of grad school, I really applied for jobs and I couldn't land anything. So I took an alternative route, applying for part-time positions that were looking for social media management, social media monitoring.
Right.
Once I found those, I would approach them and say, hey, this is the stuff I know. I do have my master's, and this is stuff I've done in the digital space, and this is what I can do for you, and kind of pulled them in as a client as that. Because they necessarily didn't want somebody in-house, but they want somebody that they could trust to handle their business and their social media.
Right.
So that's pretty much how I got started. In the first opportunity I had in the restaurant space was with a restaurant called Dirt Dog. And I simply reached out to the owner. We talked. We had a good conversation. And he gave me a shot at marketing his brand. I was in the sports space and was not in restaurants. And I would say within 4 months, we increased their sales by 40%.
Wow.
I can't tell how, but we increased their sales by 40%. And they were able to get 2 new locations under our watch, which was awesome. And that 6 months was great. It helped me really prepare myself into the digital space when it comes to hospitality, when it comes to food and restaurant and things like that.
That's awesome, man. So just to, kind of rehash that, I mean, and just even going even to the first part of the conversation. So you are a millennial, like you grew up doing this, right? like, this is what you did. And so, you know, you kind of went like the millennial route. You went to school, you got your MBA, I believe your MBA, right?
Yep.
And, you know, you fell into sports marketing. And from there, you know, you just dealt with some difficulties getting defensive linemen featured and getting them endorsement deals, I'm assuming, and getting them
Yep.
branded online. And, you know, took some of those experiences in order to help restaurants and restaurants grow.
Yep.
Which is, I mean, I think that that's a great story. I think that that is very similar to, I mean, it's a very similar story to, you know, millennial entrepreneurs, but, you know, entrepreneurs in general, right? Where, you know, it just boils down to, you know, learning something or like having a passion for something, pursuing it, failing, you know, maybe struggling and having to change and, you know, move on to something else and, you know, figure out
Absolutely.
your sweet spot. So, you know, to give some people some additional color, Joe and I have actually, we've done some work together in the restaurant space. You know, worked together on a couple client campaigns.
Yep.
And so I know that he knows what he's doing. And so I think that this is going to be, you know, a great opportunity for us to, you know, just talk a little bit more in depth about your experience in the restaurant space. Like, you know, you got this shot with Dirt Dog. You helped them open up 2 locations. Like, you got that on your resume. You know, what was next? Like, you know, where did you go from there?
You know, so after that, my time with Dirt Dog ended, the contract ended, and I was looking for bigger opportunities. And I wanted to, you know, see if what I did was just a blooper or was it really effective. So I started going in and attacking more restaurants. And I was able to, you know, pick out a client that actually owned 3 restaurants in the Playhouse Group. And I was able to do the marketing there and get their brand, you know, together. And I just enjoyed it because I simply just, one, I love food, and I know the message of food. I know how people receive food online, and most majority of consumers decide on Yelp or Google where they're going to eat or where they're not going to eat. A lot of times restaurants may advertise something's good, and you go on their site and you do the research behind it, and their whole virtual doorway isn't complete. Then you fall into that situation where now they're marketing towards their competitors, and people start going to these other places instead of their business. So there are places that I love going that have great food, but they just didn't market themselves right or, you know, get the right outlets there. And so, you know, I got into restaurants because there was a space that was voided that really needed to change, that I knew was an industry that would adjust to the fast-paced change because they need day-to-day customers to survive.
Right. That's awesome. And so, I mean, I think that you touched on, I mean, running a restaurant is difficult.
Yeah.
And it almost is a survival game, you know, but it also is, you know, kind of like, I mean, well, no, not also, there's just landmines that you're naturally going to hit. And, you know, obviously as a business owner, you know, you want to avoid that. So, you know, what are some, you mentioned that you saw some key things that restaurants were doing like over and over again. Like, what are some of those key mistakes that you were seeing that your clients, like, you know, before they met you, you know, they were making?
The first thing I would say, websites. You know, the first thing I go to when I'm working with a lot of clients is their website is not up to par. It's not mobile friendly. You know, it's the old school website that they have, and you know, it's just unattractive, and it doesn't appeal to their menu. You know, I'm doing a client's website right now. It's a major staple in Los Angeles in their industry, and it's a barbecue place, and you know, their website is, you know, pretty old and outdated. So we're going to put them through now that they can accept online ordering and look appealing to the other artists. So I would say the website, and I would say social. They don't show what they do day to day. You know, people are looking online all the time, and they need to be reminded. So I think they miss out on the process of showing what it takes to run a restaurant, showing what it takes to make a meal. You know, every meal has a story, and it's not just, doesn't just get delivered to your plate and to where you are seating, but what ingredients are in that meal? Who prepared that meal? You know, where did you get those ingredients? Where did the meal where was it inspired from? You know, there's so many avenues and stories that one meal can take. And I think that's the part of what restaurants miss, is telling the story of the food they have and the people they have serving the food.
Man, and I think that you touched on something, you know, super great, which is that, it boils down to telling a story, right? You look at like what we call content. Like I get asked all the time, like, hey, Terrence, Food Tribe, you say it's a content agency. Well, what does that mean? Well, all that it really means is that we're telling a story for you. We're transferring information, right? And we just choose different ways to do that. So, it might be a video, or it might be a photo, or it might be a blog, right? All centered around someone's food, or, could be a social media campaign. Like, and then you want to start thinking about like which platforms you're looking to target. Do you want to tell your story on Facebook? Do you want to tell your story on Instagram? And then the other things that you want to start thinking about is like, well, who are you telling your story to? Like, who is going to be most interested in your story? And, too often it feels like a lot of the partners that I talk to, they just think that it's like, hey, I'm just going to put up a bunch of information online and people are magically going to discover my restaurant.
Yeah.
So let's dive into that, that storytelling aspect a little bit more. I mean, what are, I guess like some of the trends that you've seen, like the success stories, like, talk to us about like how to, just like what tips or recommendations that you would make around like being able to better tell stories online.
I would say it's a mixture of thinking about it before you do it. If you're the person that runs the social, look at it from the perspective of what is the consumer looking at, and what type of story, what movie are you showing? Because it's visual. What images can you capture that grasp your audience, that make it attractive to them? So before you go into a situation, and I want to say with at Playhouse nightclub, one thing we were not doing, we weren't using the Instagram story a lot. Once we started implementing the Instagram story and really telling the story of, how people got involved in the beginning, like the setup, the party getting going, people coming in and having a good time, the climax of the night, the night's over. People started getting engaged and involved in it because they felt like they were there.
Right.
So making a process that people feel like I'm there, because then they want to be there eventually, because they want to be a part of the end of that.
Yeah. And I think, the other part about, the storytelling and making people feeling connected is that, what happens when you hear a really good story?
Yeah.
You want to tell somebody else a story.
Absolutely.
Right. And so that's the idea. It's like, let's tell these really great stories about, your food, your place of business, your restaurant, your experience and what that's going to be like. And then before you know it, your customers are doing your job for you, right? Or marketing for you. And that's what you want.
And that's one thing, as far as Affluent Solution and our reputation management software, we do. I teach and I tell my clients, you can advertise all you want, and that's going to get your first moment of truth. And a lot of people are going to come and buy your product. They are. But then they get their second moment of truth, which they give their reviews and their ratings for you. And that becomes your new client's first moment of truth. So you have to satisfy that clientele base so that you continue to rotate the cycle and you're getting your ROI.
Right. Exactly. Cool, man. So, if you had a new restaurant client and, they were saying, hey, Joe, I've got this great story. I really want to, tell it online. I know who I'm talking to. I know what my goals are. How can I translate this in-store experience, this dining experience, that in a way that people are going to want to tell my story to their friends?
I would say encourage your customers to engage and provide you with content, and encourage your employees to engage and provide you with content.
Okay.
And have a place where that content can be banked and tell a story with that content. My favorite places to go are those places that have the Polaroids on the wall.
Right.
That people visit, because it shows the people that were there and how happy they were.
Right.
So kind of the same system where your customers and your employees are engaged with one another, and they are encouraged to both share content. So now you're getting the content from the real eyes of who's using the product.
Yeah. All right. So I don't want to throw you off base too much, but I think that, to kind of counter that, I'm just being devil's advocate. One thing that people always talk about is user-generated content. Like, user-generated content is good because in one way, you have an abundance of it. you know, you don't have to put much like money or effort into it. And, you know, it's another way, like people are talking about your brand. On the flip side, it's not normally as pretty. You can't really control the brand. So like, what do you, I mean, what are your thoughts around, you know, kind of
you know, you have to identify it. You know, it's great to have a content calendar, and there's products, you know, I can't say the other competitor's name because we have a social media management software, but it's really setting up a content calendar where that software, I mean, where that content is played, where certain days you may not want to post or you may not have anything to post, but you can let the customers know this photo was taken by so-and-so customer.
Right.
Credit all for you. The thing with user-generated content and the quality control is as cameras get better and you start encouraging content, then you actually will be able to start deciphering between good content and bad content.
Right.
And you know, not use the bad content.
Right.
You know, honestly, any content is good content because it's useful, and especially free content.
Right.
You know, I would say with that is to keep quality control, give the person providing the content guidelines on what type of content you want.
Right.
Say, hey, take a picture of our place. Say, if you grab a cup of coffee, you know, and you're looking at it, take a selfie with your coffee.
Yeah.
You know, show us a picture of you studying with your friends. Like, show those things.
Exactly. And, you know, I had a client call earlier today, and we were talking about the process of, you know, reaching out to influencers and what that looks like. And, you know, she was giving away a bunch of free goods to the influencer. She was giving like a bunch of free product. And on the flip side, you know, it was like, hey, T, you know, like I'm giving away all these free products, and, you know, my influencers aren't really posting. They'll post like 3 months later. The pictures won't look good. Like what gives? Said, you know what? You have every right. If you're going to be giving away something free, or you're providing value, or asking somebody to create something for you, you have every right to ask for something.
Yeah, exactly. Right? And give them a guideline.
Exactly. You know, and it's not a deal killer. Sometimes it might be, and that might not be a fit for you, you know, but most of the time, you know, influencers are more than willing to, you know, fall within brand guidelines in order to tell, you know, your story. They want, it's a you do me a favor, I do you a favor type of situation.
Absolutely.
Right. Cool, man. I think I only got like 1 or 2 more questions. Let me see. Well, I think you already told us about your last great customer experience. You know, the restaurant, well, you talked a little bit about going to restaurants that, you know, have photos or the Polaroids hanging. But I'm just wondering, like, you know, if you just had some like examples of like things that, you know, I might do to make a restaurant like really memorable. Like, for example, there's that really high quality fine dining restaurant in Naka. And they've got, you know, a really long wait list because there's only like 12 seats in the entire place, right? But once you get inside, you have like a private chef that is like walking you through the preparation process, and it feels like, you know, real exclusive. You know, that's not going to be an example that works for every restaurant, but what are like, you know, some cool customer experience things that, you know, a coffee shop or a diner might be able to do?
You know, a lot of people won't like I say this,
okay.
But one thing I learned, you know, I was in Tokyo a few weeks ago, and a lot of the places where I would go order, not traditional places, newer places, have digital checkout. You know, digital concierge kind of there, where you have control over what you want with an iPad. You know, iPad ordering. A lot of companies you would think would do that, but they're not, you know. But what it does is it creates a new experience for the user. You know, it creates an experience where the user feels like they're involved. And actually, they end up buying more because they want to click buttons. You know, they want to click those buttons. It's like Vegas. They want to click, if I click this is going to come out. So I would try to say, make the digital experience from ordering, the digital experience from sharing the content being available right there in real time,
right,
for the customers to see. You know, the digital experience with the review, and even a digital experience with the follow-up now that you've got their information from the beginning.
Right.
I would just say convert it so they have this full experience where they're like, man, like I didn't have to lift a finger in my wallet. You know, I use my phone. You know, I use this device to just get around and manage the store, you know, to make it as user-friendly as possible. And at first you will get customers that may not like it, but as the millennials take over and it becomes a millennial state, you
Right.
want to be able to adapt to that in the future. So if you're a first adapter, early adopter, you know, to software, you know, and digital products, you know, a selfie screen in there, really making it an experience as far as where people can go in and share that real-time experience to their friends. That is what makes you stand out, because now you get influencers in there that are doing things for you without even realizing they're doing things for you.
Right.
They're just there having fun,
Right.
sharing stuff because it's cool to them, you know, and those are the best places that are popping up now, you know, like the new Saved by the Bell experience, restaurant experience, you know, it's shared, the ice cream museum, you know, a lot of these things, they create selfie moments. And that is what is transcending a lot of these companies, because people aren't already coming to eat. They're just coming to take a selfie with a cool photo. Just come for the photo op.
Yeah.
So making that place where it's trendy, where people want to engage digitally, I think it enhances, because it brings your restaurant outside the walls of where you are. It puts your restaurant on a global scale, because now people from all over the world can come in and see what your restaurant is doing.
Right, right. You got a right hashtag strategy, a right keyword strategy, and all of a sudden, the little restaurant is in the hands and the faces and the eyes of everybody on the planet, right?
Yep, absolutely.
So, wow, cool. Well, I think that is it for us, Joe. You know, before we head out, let people know, you know, where they can follow you, how they can connect with you, links, drop all your promos, all that good stuff.
All right, perfect. So my personal IG is Joe_Luckett. That's easy. But follow us on Instagram. It's at Affluent Solution. It's singular. Affluent Solution. And our website, affluentsolution.com. You know, get your brand audit. You know, and find out where you are, where you rank online. We offer different digital products. You know, everything you need to help your business succeed online. So, you know, go ahead and go on that website, give us a call, give us an email, shoot me a text, and find out where you rank online, you know, so you can compete amongst everyone out here, because these other businesses don't care about you.
There we go. All right, Joe. Thank you for your time, man. I'll talk to you later, all right?
Thanks.
All right.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
Inspiring. Thank you very much.
Bye, guys.
Bye.